Hey, I'm so glad you're here. If you have anxiety, you're in the right place. My name is Bella Dodds, and I had anxiety too before I healed myself. And I've been researching anxiety for 8 years, and I specialize in helping people to self-heal. And I'm the author of The Anxiety Solution. So I have a lot that I want to share with you, and I really hope this information will help you to feel, less powerless and that you don't have to cope with anxiety for the rest of your life. I know how painful anxiety can be because when I had it before I healed myself, I remember, one time in particular, just trying to get ready for work. And I was just trying to plan for, being gone from the house for 8 hours. And it was like coursing, burning adrenaline just flooding through my entire body. And the pressure that I felt in my head, and it was like I had brain fog and I had just this immense pressure and I couldn't think clearly, and it was so upsetting and distressing to just be like, where are my keys? Do I have everything that I need? It was so painful physically, mentally, and emotionally, just not to be able to calmly and rationally get myself ready for the day. And that was when I realized that I had anxiety. It became unmanageable. I After having researched anxiety for a long time and reflected on it and worked with people from around the world, I can tell you that most people have anxiety for a lot longer than they realize until it becomes unmanageable. So anyways, the main thing I want you to know is that your anxiety is not a mistake. It's not a weakness in you. You have it for a reason. There's unresolved stress that is triggering your biological symptoms. Now, I'm not a doctor. I don't diagnose, I don't cure anyone, but I am an integrative health coach, and so my specialty is working on how stress impacts our physiology. And so because I have an international coaching practice, one of the blessings is that I've been able to work with people from all around the world and see, no matter what people's gender is, culture, race, religion, background, socioeconomic status. Despite all of our differences, over the years, what my research has shown me is that there are two common factors connected to people who have anxiety. And there's a small subcategory, but for the most part, I would say 90 to 95% of my clients fit into one of these two categories. And what's really helpful about that is that although anxiety feels really illogical and that you are powerless against it, the truth is once you focus on the problem, not the symptoms, and stay on the surface, once you direct your energy to the source that needs your attention, it is amazing the level of transformation and self-healing you can experience, and helping your mind return to a higher state of equilibrium so then your body reflects that. So people who have anxiety are really great problem solvers. That's something I see again and again. And in this video, if the only thing you take away from is a greater insight into what is triggering your symptoms, then that's going to be, huge and massive for you to no longer feel powerless against that. Okay, so I want to share with you what we're going to talk about in this short video. And the first is the two most common factors I find with why people have anxiety. And then we're going to look at the secondary symptoms of anxiety that most people don't know about, that are having a massive impact on your health and well-being in every area of your life. And then how you can change your life and stop coping and have an amazing 2018 and beyond. Okay, so let's start with the two most common factors I find with my clients who have anxiety. One of them is you might have grown up in an unstable or unpredictable environment. So what this means is you had someone in your household that had unexpected outbursts of anger, and maybe they would get mad at you or somebody else, and you didn't feel entirely safe around this person or more people in your house. And so you came home and you weren't sure if it was going to be a good day or a bad day. So your nervous system started to develop to become hypersensitive and tuning into other people's moods and emotions. And oftentimes you would absorb those moods as a way to try to feel like what kind of energy is this person? Because if they're in a really volatile mood today, then I need to be hypervigilant to kind of brace myself about something bad happening, and maybe I'll be extra good today, or I'll get out of the house, something like that. So in essence, you start to over time develop this strategy of trying to sense, intuitively feel the energy of the house and somebody's moods, um, to adapt your behavior to that. So it's not uncommon then for people who grew up around a parent or one or both parents who were alcoholics or had an addiction to some kind of prescription drug, because if that person, what those substances do is they just exaggerate someone's mood. So if someone's mad, they're really mad, they're more out of control, the fighting is more intensified. And so your environment at home, you didn't particularly feel safe all the time, and you were on edge worrying if something bad is going to happen. Now, part of this can also be connected to, let's say if it was safe at home, but your outer environment was more unpredictable and volatile. So perhaps you got bullied at school, or there was some kind of stress within the community, or some kind of environmental crisis. That unpredictability of not being able to feel safe and secure really anchors into the nervous system over time in the first decades of your life. So the other most common factor that I find with my clients is if you grew up around a parent who had incredibly high expectations of you and they were hypercritical. And this could have shown up, at school and feeling like you, not even feeling like it, like getting in trouble if you did bad and didn't get the best grades and the best marks. You could have gotten, a look of real disappointment, feeling ignored, that the love was conditional. I've had clients where there was physical abuse if they didn't get the best grade. So it doesn't really matter in terms of how extreme the discipline was. I see it has the same impact of worrying that you're not going to be, you don't get that approval, you don't get that love, or you get in trouble and you get criticized. So it can also be like, did you clean the house? Did you clean the kitchen? And not like one little trace of having you been in there can be left, so that feeling of never being able to mess up and always having to be perfect. Now, the big thing that this has an impact on people later in life is that it really affects your nervous system, and then your internal dialogue, as well as sort of your beliefs about yourself and about life, and how you adapt yourself around those beliefs. So your nervous system, if you grew up under that stress for, let's say just under 2 decades, what happens is if you grew up not feeling safe, you can have a feeling or a belief that something bad always happens. Mine was good things don't last. It was unconscious until I did healing work and got to the heart of, my anxiety. But this bracing that something bad's going to happen. So let's say things are going good. That can really trigger people with anxiety. It's like everything's going good, now something bad's going to happen. And part of the reason is because that it did happen when you were little, and you weren't empowered to change it. You just kind of had to cope and survive through it. So then those strategies have gone with you later into life. So this fear of something bad is happening. What happens is then your nervous system responds to that perception, and it starts to flood you with adrenaline and stress hormones to help you to brace yourself against, something threatening coming your way. And that's when anxiety can start to take over, and your physiological symptoms then are the fuel of your mind to just go into catastrophic thinking, overwhelm, and it becomes a real vicious cycle. And it's no way to live, because, as a child, you can, if you're just worried about 1 or 2 people that you have to, be hyper vigilant around, that's more manageable. But if you take that unconscious strategy into your adult life and you're trying to make sure that everything is okay, then you're doing the same thing within your partnership, your marriage, perhaps with your kids, your taxes, your health, your mortgage, your job, always trying to make sure that everything is okay and everyone is okay. It becomes completely overwhelming on every level of who you are, and it's just not a effective strategy for life because it was developed when you were younger, and it doesn't work with all of your responsibilities as an adult. And the other one is if you grew up where it was a lot of criticism or impossible expectations. Let's just be honest, no one can be perfect all the time, so it's impossible. But as a kid, if you just had one person or two people that you were trying to, to get that approval or do everything the best that you could, to a certain degree, it's manageable. But then as you become an adult and you have to then try to be the perfect partner, the perfect parent, every day at work, throughout the day, moment by moment, you're never messing up. You're always doing your best. You don't get in trouble. You're afraid of getting in trouble. Having the perfect appearance, or making sure your house is perfectly clean, or having the right diet, doing everything and not messing up. Completely 100% a recipe for massive anxiety, and to be completely impossible. It's unmanageable. Now, a key piece in this is people beat themselves up because they're like, why am I so controlling? Why am I so hard on myself? Why do I have this belief that I have to be perfect? Why do I feel like I'm not good enough? Why can't I just logically get over that? One of the reasons is because it's rooted in your need for survival. And that's not just an intellectual thing. That's a biological thing. And so to self-healing your anxiety, you can't just do it intellectually, and you can't just address the physical. You have to address both. But if you're working with the problem, it's actually really beautiful, and it's not as hard to self-heal as people think it is. It's actually a beautiful opportunity to reconnect to your true self, your value, your worth, and your gifts, and free yourself from the prison of the stress of the past. So now let's look at the secondary symptoms that arise with people who have anxiety. Some of the symptoms are overworking yourself and being an overachiever to the point of hurting yourself, feeling compelled to take on other people's problems, or feeling overly responsible for others, having a hard time saying no and feeling really guilty if you do, attracting people into your life who you see their potential, but they tend to have chaos on a weekly basis that you often have to go in and help rescue them from. Never being able to rest for very long, and if you do, maybe you feel guilt or always thinking about what you need to get done. Often putting your health last, and taking time for joy often doesn't come up on your to-do list. And through all this overworking, it leads to feeling burnt out, depleted, empty on the inside, and disconnected. And because you're coming from this depleted state, it feels like there's a growing tension and exhaustion in the body, which makes you have less patience and more reactive to what goes on in the world. And when things are out of your control, it's more overwhelming and can cause you to be more critical or hypervigilant. And this type of emotional energy can lead to breakdown in relationships. And this overall feeling of frustration with life that no matter how hard you're working, nothing you do is ever good enough, and as much as you're trying to keep things together and hold everything together, everything feels like it's falling apart. And so ultimately, this is unmanageable because it is unmanageable. So how can you stop coping with anxiety and self-heal and change your life? One of the really important things to understand about anxiety is that the body can't lie. And if you just try to address it on a physical level or mental, emotional level, you're going to hit a roadblock. Because the truth is the mind and the body are inseparably one. And you need to work with both to help the body to truly self-heal and be free. Now, a core piece in this is that the body can't lie. So intellectually, a lot of times people will be like, oh yeah, that happened in the past, I'm fine, I let it go, I'm over it, I don't ever think about it. Now that may be true, but the body is reflecting that there is still stress about what happened because it can't lie and it doesn't feel safe and it is worrying something bad's going to happen, and if you mess up, you're going to get in trouble, and that's why the physiology is responding that way. So the most effective technique that I have found for healing myself and supporting others to self-heal is that we can't change the past, we can't change what's happened. However, we can take our power back from it by learning, growing, and evolving through it. And really what that means is that within your greatest stress are connected to some of your greatest strengths, truly. And until you fully understand what those strengths and gifts are that came out of some of the most painful or challenging moments in your life, the past will still run you. So it's really about learning how to, I don't work with my clients talking about the past and kind of dredging up all those emotions and symptoms again, because then that can be really frustrating over time. The thing that I found to be the most effective is saying, how did that make me into the best version of myself, and how can I, in understanding that, become even greater levels and higher aspects of my, true expression and my gifts. So really transforming that pain into purpose in your life and into self-confidence and love. And that's really profound and truly beautiful to experience. And also it's, one of the greatest gifts is for me to be able to witness that with people. And I see it again and again, and it's possible for every single person. If your desire is not to hold on to the past, but to actually be free. If that's your desire and that's your focus, then you can do it through that mindset. Now that's one level of it, getting that conscious understanding. I kind of like to call it the eagle's eye view. The eagle can fly 10,000 feet above the earth. So that means it can see far into the past, the present, and the future. And so when you're getting that higher perspective of your life, you get that beautiful wisdom. Now this is something I take very seriously. A lot of people have been through a lot of stress, so I don't say this lightly at all. And it's hard for me to kind of convey the power of this in a video. And I guess one thing that's universal that maybe will help you to understand what I'm talking about is everyone has experienced devastating heartbreak and, just feeling totally shattered when a relationship ended or maybe someone broke up with you. And I would say most people also have experienced that 5-10 years down the road, they can look back on that breakup and actually see, as time progressed, that person became someone different. Maybe you're not as attracted to them. Maybe they went down a completely different path, very different from your own. Or if you hadn't had that relationship end, you wouldn't have met the partner that you're with now, and you love that person, you're so much more compatible, so much more joy, and maybe you have a family with that person. So when you look back on that breakup in hindsight, 5-10 years later, you don't have stress around it, you're not devastated, you're actually grateful that it happened exactly as it did, and it was a blessing in disguise. So that's what authentic healing looks like. That's what it feels like when you feel light about it, when you feel free, and when you even have gratitude. Now, this is a key piece in integrative health coaching because the body cannot lie. So in order to get the physiology to shift, you truly have to transform, which is profound and beautiful because in that transformation is love and wisdom and purpose in your life that you have to awaken to. And so your body is actually a catalyst, and it's one of your greatest teachers helping you to become the best version of yourself. And that is what it's not about coping. It's not about managing the symptoms. It's about getting in there and getting the lessons and bringing those lessons forward into your life and uplifting every area of your life, your confidence, your self-worth, your relationships, your clarity on what you want to do with your life and your purpose. All of that is held within the stress, and the body is actually holding that for you. And through your symptoms is in order to shift it, you need to heal it and grow through it. And then wisdom comes through and insight because of going through that process. Now that's core level is getting that understanding and wisdom. And then another beautiful aspect that I take my clients through and that I use to heal myself is then you have to take that love and that wisdom, those higher understanding and truths, and bring it into the body through a really beautiful, gentle technique of how we go back to younger states and bringing that love and wisdom and understanding to your younger awareness so that the body can truly know that actually I'm okay. You know, it instead of coming from a fearful younger awareness of maybe your 6-year-old self, you come from the wisdom of who you are now and you bring that into the body. So it's essential to work it from both a mind-body perspective so that you get that shift from the inside out. And the last component that is really essential to, not coping and not burning yourself out and depleting yourself and working your keister off and getting, not good results is anxiety is connected to your relationship to yourself and the world and other people. So part of a key process is you want to learn how to create healthy boundaries, and you will learn how to create healthy boundaries, how to say no when you mean no, to not feel guilty about that, to take more time for joy and put your health care and your self-care higher on the list, to be able to not take on other people's problems, to get, to not intercept their process, but to give them space and believe in them to do so. So there's a refinement in how you then just move and be through the world and how you trust life more rather than trying to control the uncontrollable, because how well does that work? It doesn't work that well over time. And just learning how to be in a different relationship with life and other people in a way that is much more joyful and fulfilling for both people, and getting better results because of that. So then if you're wondering, okay, well, I kind of am interested in what you're saying, I resonate with you, and I'm curious about your approach, what can I do now? If you'd like to learn more, there's information up below this video about my 6-week program and the special that I'm running right now. And you can sign up to have a 15-minute complimentary consultation with me, and together we'll look at some of the unresolved stress that could be connected to triggering your biological symptoms, and we'll just connect and see if my technique and approach feels like we're the right fit for each other. And I'm taking on just 3 new clients right now, so if you're interested in working with me, send me that email and we'll get you set up for that consultation and get things going and see if it's the right fit. So I really look forward to helping those who want to take their power back and self-heal on the deepest level, so you can change your life for 2018 and beyond. I hope this video served you, and I'm sending you so much love and strength on your self-healing journey. Namaste.